Well, recently I made a video showing you guys just the crazy destruction of my whitetail hunting property from those 120-mile-an-hour winds that we had come through, and just a ferocious summertime thunderstorm. Crazy deal. I've never lived through something like that, but I wanted to update you guys on my hunting property remediation plan here. As you can see behind me, you've probably guessed, and maybe by the thumbnail of this video, that I did call a logger to come in and bail me out. I changed my mind. I know in the last video, I think it was about 4 videos ago, if you look back, I said I was going to try to cut out all my four-wheeler trails and deer trails and leave the blowdown. I've since changed my mind on that, and I decided that I am going to have the logger come in because of the fact that so many of you on YouTube urged me and cautioned me to rethink my strategy. And I wanted to take a minute here to just sincerely thank you guys for writing in the comments with what I felt were sincere and genuine concerns for my safety and my health. And I really, really appreciate that. You know, I'm 36 years old now, and I'm at a point in my life where when someone with a lot of experience is trying to tell me something, I try to listen to them now and take their advice. When I was younger, that was a different time. I might have been a little more rebellious at that time. And I think as men, we all want to believe that we have the best idea and we can do it all. But I was just struck by the comments. If you guys go back to that video and scroll through and read those comments on that video, it was really kind of amazing. I mean, there was a lot of people who said, Matt, I've been working in this industry for 20, 30 years. I work with a chainsaw for a living. You really need to reconsider this just because of how dangerous this idea is that you're talking about. So it really made me stop and ponder. And I was, quite frankly, kind of blown away by all the comments. And I knew it was going to be risky, my plan, but I'm good with a chainsaw. I've been running one for many years now. But when I read through those comments, I'm like, these guys have a lot of experience. These people, I could just feel it and hear it in the words, their voice. It wasn't people making stuff up. When you read those comments, you'll know what I mean. These are sincere, genuine people who were saying, look, you don't want to do this. There's a ton of risk with these logs that are under pressure, twisted, bound up. When you release that pressure, that log could slam one way or the other. You're not going to have time to react. I also got to thank my dad. He said I was out of my mind when I told him my plan, that I was going to use a chainsaw to open it all up. So between my dad and everybody on YouTube, I reconsidered my decision and decided to bring in a logger. So I just wanted to tell you guys that. And if you've ever pondered if you're in a situation like mine, really, really take heed to those people with a lot of experience that are saying you don't realize the amount of risk you're taking on and could potentially get severely injured or worse by what you're planning to do. So now let's talk about what I decided to do. So as you can see behind me, it's a little more destruction than I was hoping. So, you know, a lot of you in the comments had said, get somebody in here with a cut to length system, a processor. The logger that I ended up going with has one of those. The machine that'll come in and grab the tree, cut it, and delimb it and cut it, you know, into 8-foot chunks. The problem was, because it was such a tangled and twisted and blown down mess, he said it's going to take twice as long to use the processor in here. So they brought in what they call their buncher. And so that's the device that just comes and cuts the tree off. And they went and cut them all off at the bases, grabbed them and just stacked them in piles to begin with. And then from there, they brought in the processor behind it that delimbed them and cut them into the 8-foot chunks. And then they used a forwarder to come and load up all the logs and haul them out of here. So what ended up happening was, you can see it flattened things pretty good. That was my concern from day one with bringing a logger in here. But I didn't let them do my whole property. Okay, so that's the whole key here, is I went with kind of a hybrid approach to this. I didn't just turn that logger loose in my whole property and say, go do whatever you want. I had very strict guidelines for that logger, and he honored every one of them, and he did an incredible job. He honored the cut boundary. He was really good about the trees that I wanted to save, all my oaks, any red pine that are still standing, and even any aspen trees that are still standing. I told him I want to leave those. He listened to every word I said. So that's one piece of advice. If you're thinking of getting a logger in here, take the time do your research and talk to different loggers and find one that's patient with you and will listen to you and gives you the sense that they sincerely intend on doing what you're asking them to do. So one way that I made it crystal clear for this logger where I wanted him to cut and where I didn't, it ended up being about 5 acres in total that I had him do of the worst blowdown, like where my four-wheeler trail is going, and then where it was just these absolute mattresses of aspen trees, huge diameter aspen trees that were laying in multiple layers that I was going to try to cut with the chainsaw. That's the area that I had him do. Like I say, it was about 4.9 acres. The rest of my property, I had him leave. And I'm going to show you guys in a minute what that looks like and why I elected to leave part of my property and have him log this part. But I ended up going on Google Earth, doing a screenshot of my property. I drew in a pink boundary around my property and then an orange boundary with shading where I wanted him to log. And then I color coded that map that I made with the same orange and pink ribbons corresponding to property boundary and cut boundary. That made it crystal clear for the logger, and he really liked that. They can't mess it up that way. And I elected to have them only do about the 5 acres because I didn't want my entire property to look like this. It does smash down a lot of your vegetation. Now, the nice thing is in a few years, this is going to be super, super thick with regeneration. You know, had we done this cut in the wintertime when these trees were dormant, we'd probably see better popple regeneration, the little popple whips coming up. I think we'll still get some here, even though it was summertime, but because these trees were living when this all happened, I think we're going to get reduced popple regeneration. But we have a ton of hazel brush in the soil bank here, and I think that hazel brush is going to come back just almost impenetrably thick, which I'm really excited about because the deer love that. So there's light at the end of the tunnel on this. I know it looks ugly today, but I had them do the worst of the worst spot. And now let's go over here behind me. This is the area I had them leave. I didn't want this all smashed down. Let's go take a look and see what that looks like. So this area right here, this is actually plenty open to where whitetails can get through here. Some down trees up there, but they can go kind of that way. Right through there, they can get through. If I go this way, this is a little blown down with this top, but on the other side of this top, it's actually fairly open. Let's keep going. This gives you a little sense of like an area like this. This is really open. I mean, deer can get through here, no problem. They can sneak through that little tunnel right there. This is kind of a dead end over here with all this blowdown. I ultimately will probably have to do something with this. But areas like this are, the ground is completely open and bare. This is still pretty blown down. You can see all these popple trunks laid down here. So something like this, I think a deer would not be going through. I mean, they could bound over this, but it wouldn't be comfortable. But if we pan this way, got a big root ball turned up. But like right here is a really nice tunnel through. They can go right through this brush. Nothing impeding their trail here. This is that thick kind of blowdown area that was I just showed you. But as we pan this way, they can get under this log, through all that hazel brush up there. Again, just thick hazel brush here, but they have little trails like tunneled through that hazel brush. That was kind of the key part of this with the logger, was I didn't just let them go wild, hog wild in this property. I think it could have really destroyed my property for many, many years if I'd have done that. But I strategically left these areas that weren't blown down quite as bad. You know, there's a lot of blowdown back here, but I think this could be almost that sweet spot for whitetails where there's enough side cover and garbage kind of in big piles and tops, you know, but yet they can still get around it. But the really bad blown down area that was the worst safety concern, I elected to have the logger clean that up so that I can be there for my kiddos and family for many years to come, which I feel really good about now that I've slept on that for a while. I think that was absolutely the right decision. So I do want to just say thank you one more time to all of you who commented on that video. And again, we've never met, but I felt like there's a lot of people who genuinely cared about me and my welfare, and that really means a lot. So I think that, who knows, could have saved me from serious injury. We'll never know. But that's the property update. I hope you guys are doing well. If you got any questions for me or curious about other plans and stuff like that I got back here for the future, drop me a comment down below. Thanks for watching.